At this time, we'll call to order the September 13th, 2022 regular meeting of Finance Personnel Committee. Angela, roll please.
Alderperson P-Rock?
Here.
Gant? Here. Chandig? Here. Quigley?
Here.
Mayor Boyd?
I am here. Thank you. Item 2, approval of the minutes of the July 12, 2022 regular meeting of the Finance Personnel Committee. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson P-Rock. Any discussion? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3, public comment upon matters not on the agenda. Comments made during the public comment period shall pertain only to matters under the jurisdiction of the Finance Personnel Committee. Anyone, virtually or in person, have any public comment upon matters not on the agenda? I'm going to say no back there. For the second time, any public comment upon matters not on the agenda. If you have anything, just state your name. For the third and final time, any public comment upon matters not on the agenda. All right. Item 4, consideration and possible action on the June 2022 Police Overtime Report.
I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Quigley, seconded by Alderperson Cuniger. Any discussion? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5, consideration and possible action on the August 2022 Police Overtime Report. I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. Yeah, you can have it. Any discussion? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 6, consideration and possible action on the Fire Department overtime and LifeQuest services billing reports for July of 2022.
Move to approve.
I will second. Motion by Alderperson Quigley, seconded by me. Any discussion? Alderperson Quigley.
Since there wasn't a meeting in August, is there going to be a future meeting when we're going to do two of these reports, August and September, or it feels like we missed
I think we're
one
caught
of
up.
them.
Yeah, I think they put it on, it probably could have been just one agenda item for both and just covered both of them, but they broke it apart. So
Oh, I
one
see.
for July, one for August, because we did not have an August.
Okay, all right, I got it.
Yep. All right, good question. That said, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, consideration and possible action on the Fire Department overtime report and LifeQuest services billing reports for August of 2022.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson P-Rock, second by Alderperson Gantz. Any discussion? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8. Oh, there we go. Consideration and possible action on the request for a therapy dog program for the fire department. Chief, I'm assuming you're going to want to say something on this.
Yep, I would love to. So I brought with me Tammy Gosen tonight, and I was approached by Tammy several months ago, and she basically stated that her and her husband, her family would like to champion some kind of cause where they could show appreciation to our staff. Typical me, when she sits down in the office and says, what are you thinking? I have the whole menu of things. What is it that you'd be interested in sort of getting behind? And so we discussed several different options of ways that again, she wanted it to be something that really could show appreciation or improve the quality of life. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but so help me here, but include, maybe improve the work environment for the staff was the primary focus.
My husband and I are absolutely extremely grateful for the Pere Fire Rescue Team for coming to our aid very quickly and unexpectedly on Christmas Eve morning when our daughter was born at our home. They arrived about 2 minutes after she was born. My husband delivered her, and we are forever grateful. It could not have been a more perfect, chaotic moment in our life, and we have a very healthy 8-month-old little girl right now. So our hope was just to give back in any way that we can to the team and also to the community as well.
That's great. It's fantastic. Great story.
So mental health is a huge thing in first responders. And our department has been pretty progressive over the years. We had some of the first people trained in critical incident stress debriefing in the 90s. We had a very aggressive chaplain program for the last 15 years where did things like resiliency training quarterly, peer-to-peer counseling. So I'm proud of the fact that our staff has had good longevity in their position as a paramedic. When I started in the 90s, early 90s, it was kind of like the feeling was you ran as a paramedic for a couple of years and then you kind of dropped that licensure and just kind of did fire stuff, because the idea back then is that there wasn't a lot of stopgap for the mental health piece of it. So I like to think our department's been forward-thinking and progressive when dealing with mental health. Therapy dogs in the fire service and in first responder world is really gaining traction all over the country. So again, not so much locally. In the Valley, there's a few departments that have done it, but it's a real progressive thing. I want to point out as well the flyer that Tammy put together that would go out to the community to help kind of solicit support for this. But again, this would be a no-cost item for the city to fund.
And our hope with that is partnering with some local businesses as well. It would also help some of our local businesses here in the community.
Great. Questions or comments? Anyone on the board? I did have one question. I think this might have been addressed by you and or Shannon, but there might be some folks that may not want to have a dog in the building. How are we going to address that part of it? If someone's allergic to the dog or?
Yep. So essentially,
Al, why don't you take that?
Yeah. So essentially, what happened is we've really looked closely at the program that's happened in the public schools. The East Pere School District, for example, or Unified School District of Pere has one therapy dog active. They're adding 2 more. So they have a relationship with a trainer and a program. There's an opt-out form that they use for students that either have an allergy or don't want to have any contact with a dog. So we would really try to mimic, as I described in the memo, try to just follow the pattern they've already developed. It's a pattern that works well. So essentially, people can opt in or out if they want to have that, and that's probably the easiest way to deal with that.
Okay, great, thanks. Alderperson P-Rock.
Yeah, how do you go about picking the dog, or where do you find the dog?
Yep. So that the relationship that the Unified School District of De Pere has developed with a trainer, that trainer basically selects the dog, trains it, and then more importantly, trains the handler. And it's then delivered in a package, and it is absolutely not breed specific. It's personality specific of the dog. So you really don't know what type of dog you're going to get. They just pick one that would fit best.
And it spends the whole time at the firehouse?
No. So essentially what happened is, years ago, and in my memo, we talk about dogs were pretty common in the firehouse. What they're finding with these therapy dogs is that they really need to have one handler primarily. So when they go into schools, there'll be one person, typically a teacher, that is primarily responsible for the health of the dog and managing the dog's attitude. So we would again mimic that same system. They have less success when they just take an animal and they just sort of let them go in the firehouse where there's multiple people around. So the idea would be this dog would be managed by one of the day staff. So there's currently 3 day staff. So one of the day staff would take responsibility for the dog. The dog would be there every day, Monday through Friday. That would be the greatest exposure to our staff. The idea is the dog is to support the staff, so they would be available during the day. We certainly would use it for all of our pub ed events as well. But primarily there'd be one handler responsible for the dog. The dog would be the property of the city. So, much like the police dog, it might get passed from one handler to another. If someone retires or no longer maintains employment, the dog would be the property of the city, just like the police dog.
Okay. Then the dog goes home with the handler at night?
Dog goes home with the handler at night, yep. And then the handler is responsible for, making sure that all the health needs and primary needs of the animal are taken care of. And that's a voluntary thing, not compensated for that in any way.
Other questions or comments? Well, that said, I would make a motion to approve the request for a therapy dog program for the fire department.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. Any additional discussion or comments? Tammy, thank you very much, by the way.
Thank you. I'm glad you're both healthy and safe. That's wonderful.
That's great, yeah.
Anytime you want my dog, just let me know. I'll lend him out.
Yeah, and so you do know if they do say yes to all of this, which I assume they're going to, it goes to council. So that would be September 20th, I believe. And Al will tell you all about that. Okay, so one more little step to go. All right, great, thanks. That said, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. All right, what do we have next here? Item 9, consideration and possible action on the fire department request to support tactical emergency medical services, medics on the SWAT team. Chief?
Essentially what's happened here is, Brown County manages our regional SWAT team that responds to really, our whole region. And that's made up of Brown County Sheriff's deputies as well as law enforcement from other agencies. So it's a collaborative, joint venture. What's happened over the years of, all these active shooter incidents is it's best if we can embed medically trained people in with that SWAT team. And that's become really the best practice or the standard. The SWAT team has been really fortunate in that over the last several years, their medical director was the same as our medical director, Steve Stroman, who was an ER physician, who was kind of in the twilight of his career, so he wasn't doing a lot of clinical time, was available a lot. So he made every SWAT practice, he made every SWAT call out. And, excuse me, so they had essentially their medic embedded in the team. Well, now he's fully retired. So there's a big void that he filled that was part of that team. To fill that void, the Sheriff's Department has approached our department for several reasons. Pere has been regional leader in developing what we call response to integrated threat. So that's what we would call today for the active shooter. And we have been partnered with the Sheriff's Department in teaching this response to all responders throughout the community within the region. We're in the middle right now, and you're going to get an email from me to invite you on October 12th, where we're having a multi-jurisdictional, multi-agency training out at the Bay Beach Wildlife Sanctuary. So you'll see it where it all comes together with police, fire, and EMS agencies from all over the county, all working together. Over this 2-month period of time, we'll train 800 responders in that program. So it's the same class put on 13 times over and over again. The one we're going to invite you to is the 12th if you have any interest in stopping to see it. Where am I going with this long Al story or this long dissertation? Is we have been a regional leader in participating, partnering with that training. So we have several members on our organization that would like to be part of that SWAT team and provide that service. And what I'm asking for is the ability to allow our members to go do that. We already do it on the police side. So we have several Pere police officers that make up, that help support that SWAT team. So this would be kind of an addition to that. What value do we get as a community? First of all, the training that they will receive, they will bring back to our organization, and they'll make our everyday paramedics better and sharper. Secondly, if in a SWAT event like that happened in Pere, you've got, highly trained people instantly embedded in that situation, which is going to protect, provide for the best outcome for our police officers as well as anyone in our community that gets hurt. So the upside for us is, heaven forbid it happens in our community, we've got the highest trained people right here.
I think it's someplace in here, but what's the cost?
The cost is about, I think it's $6,000 annually for 2 members. So it's $3,000 annually for one. Right now, I'm requesting 2 members. The training that it takes, it's called TEMS, and to be a certified TEMS medic, you have to go through a significant amount of additional training, and that class doesn't come around very often. So we have 2 people that are already trained to that level, so that's already done. So to put them on the team, what we'd be asking for is the time that they would have to train with the SWAT team. So for each member, it would be $3,000 per member. We're asking for 2, but I put a note in there. I would like to ask for a third in the future. In an ideal world, I would like to have 1 trained on all 3 of our shifts. And the deployment model would look like when they're on duty and a SWAT event happens, they would leave the station. They keep their gear at the station. They'd leave the station. They take a vehicle, and they would respond immediately to the scene. That's going to make the response time much better and their availability much better, because they would leave right from on duty as opposed to trying to track them down at home. So I think we would get the best service if we had 3. The problem is we just can't get 3 through the class right away.
Sounds good. Other questions or comments for the chief? Larry?
Can you remind me, Al, did you include funding in the 2023 budget for this as part of your training?
Nope. What we did do, well, ironically, we just went through our overtime report, and our overtime report, we're really approaching maximum on that. The reality of that is we've had multiple people that have been out on family medical leave, and we've had some multiple injuries. We hadn't been that close to our overtime budget before, so I'm anticipating our overtime budget for 2023 can support this additional $6,000, but the caveat to that is assuming we don't have another medical issue with the personnel that would take them out of work for a while. So in answer to your question, I did not request additional funding through the overtime to cover this.
Okay. I guess the question was though, if you had it in for training, because this would be training funds, correct? Not overtime.
Well, no, this would be to pay for their overtime when they attend the training
Okay.
off duty.
All right. So are you asking then for them to recommend to the council to approve funding from unassigned reserves to cover for this year? When would this actually occur?
So again, if we do not have any major medical incident with our employees, we shouldn't need that additional $6,000 funding. We should be able to cover that with what we currently have budgeted in the overtime. So at this point, I'm not really asking for that. I'm just asking for the ability to let our De Pere Fire Rescue members be part of the Brown County SWAT team.
And would the training occur this year?
The training would occur no, it would start in January.
All right. And then do we need an intergovernmental agreement? I can't recall what we have with the SWAT, with
And
the
that's
officers.
a great question. I don't know if we currently have one with SWAT.
I thought we
with,
did.
with our police. But yeah, if we do, it would just be a matter of changing that. Yep.
Kristen back there.
Yeah, Kristen's back there, so.
You jotting that down?
All right.
Other questions or comments? So everyone understands funding-wise should be absorbed, he thinks, unless he needs something different as we go forward. That said, I would make a motion to approve the fire department's request to support tactical emergency medical services, TEMS, medics on the SWAT team.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Cuniger. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing there is none.
I guess I have one.
Alderperson Cuniger, go ahead.
If in fact it would have to come out, it would come back for, yeah, okay, that's cool. All right, off we go.
He doesn't get permission, no. He would like that, though.
Yes,
Would you
he
not?
would.
Yes, he would. Good question.
Yep.
Where was I? I was just about,
We're
all
gonna
those,
say aye.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Oh, you're still up here. Just stay right there.
I should have an easy one coming now.
And it's,
Wait, well, you never know. You just jinxed yourself. Item 10, consider donation in the amount of $1,000 from Renaissance Assisted Living for the fire department. I'd make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. Anything you want to say regarding this one? It's pretty straightforward.
Thank Rennis.
Thank Rennis, and we'll do that as well, and that goes to the council as well, too. Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 11. Is that it for him now? Item 11, consideration and possible action on request from the Chief of Police to authorize expenditure of $7,233 to purchase 1 handheld radar unit, 3 rechargeable light units, 2 portable alcohol breath testers, and 12 emergency door entry crowbars from the Wisconsin grant allocated to the Pere Police Department.
move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Quigley, seconded by Alderperson P-Rock. Did you want to hear it all from the police chief? Is everyone okay with this? Everyone good?
My only question is, what's the remaining balance of the grant funds? The total allocation was the 56, and that we used it for some other things as well in the past. I'm just curious.
Jeremy, you're up there. Did you hear the question?
Yeah, so the only thing that we've been able to actually allocate towards that grant so far is the e-bicycles, which was approximately just shy of $10,000. So I believe we would have approximately $46,000 remaining and approximately $38,500 if we were to approve this item.
Good question. All right, other questions while the chief's on? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 12, consideration and possible action on stray and impound animal shelter services agreement with the Wisconsin Humane Society. I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Gantz. Any questions on this, or anyone needs some explanation regarding this at all? Pretty straightforward as well. Okay. That said, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 13, recommendation and possible action to approve various changes to the city policy manual. Shannon, you want to say something first?
No, not necessarily. It's just every once in a while we get a chance to bring forward some various changes. So these are the ones that we're ready to proceed with. Probably the biggest changes that you'll see in here are changes to our current vacation policy. We felt that this has been talked about for a while, and in regards to how difficult it is to recruit candidates, a lot of organizations are starting to hire candidates at 3 weeks of vacation. And what we're seeing is sometimes vacation means more to applicants, sometimes even than their wages. So we were proposing to increase that from 2 weeks to 3 weeks, and then to update our schedule of vacation accordingly. And then there's just some various other changes in here, but happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from anybody? Again, too, I think this is fairly straightforward, and for us to be competitive, I think it makes a lot of sense. Everyone good with all that? I would then make a motion to approve various changes to the city policy manual.
I'll second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson P-Rock. Any additional discussion and/or questions? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 14, consideration and possible action to determine salaries for mayor and city council for 2024 and 2025. Shannon, you want to take something on this one?
I can just provide a brief overview. So, per statute, the council has to establish wage increases for members of the council as well as the mayor position. And it has to be done, so essentially the people that are making the decisions aren't in office, right? So that's why this is coming way ahead of schedule than you would typically have to do it, but or then the years would come up. But it's now time prior to the end of this year that wages really have to be established. So for assistance, you provided kind of a history of what the increases have been going back for a number of years. And then we also put in the memo what increases we were looking at for non-represented employees for 2023, which is obviously still work in progress with the budget. Don't know exactly what that will look like, but that's a number we'd like to stay with. But also then got data from other communities. You can see what those positions are paying at other communities to try to help in that decision. So don't really have guidance to provide. It's really your decision to make as to what you would like to see and what you think what the appropriate wage should be for somebody serving in your positions.
I can't remember, what was the percent increase? Okay, here it is right here. Percent increase from the last time was, it's been 2 for quite some time, correct?
Yeah.
2019 all the way through 23.
Right.
Questions or comments?
What are you gonna do with all that extra cash?
Yeah, it's just a pile of money, And I think we've had discussions on this in the past where we're trying to encourage folks to run. If this is some kind of carrot, so be it. I do think, you all should get paid for what you do. So I think the minimum, I think 2% we've been going for quite some time. So unless you all feel differently, it's going to go to the council anyways, I believe. Unless you all feel differently, do we need a percent increase, or just to approve, we need a percent as well?
Ideally, you should probably have a recommendation to go forward to council, but
for consistency's sake, I would probably, at least to get it to council, they can take a look at it then. I would make a motion to the salaries for mayor and city council for 2024 and 2025 with 2% increases.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Cuniger. Any additional discussion? Again, this goes to council, so you can save it for there if you want. That said, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 15, recommendation and possible action to create an employee referral program. Shannon, this is you again?
it is, yes. This is something that's been on our list to do for a while. But we finally got a chance to put it into policy format. But just, with positions getting harder and harder to fill, we're looking at all ways of just trying to increase the number of applicants that receive and the quality of applicants. And sometimes our employees are our best source of, reaching out to other people. They know the culture, they know what it's like to work for DePere. Sometimes they worked in that position previously. So we'd like to, right now, we ask our employees to send out our posts on social media and whatnot, but, I get it, and sometimes some people probably do, and other times they don't. It's one more thing just to do, but we'd like to provide a little bit of a carrot to the employees in hopes that they would really do that and reach out, talk to their family, friends, whatnot, and let them know, DePere is a great place to work, and we have this position open. We'd like to have you work with us. So we put together this program. It would really be for employees that do end up referring somebody, and then we would then reward the employee if that applicant is hired, $500. So again, don't anticipate we're going to get a lot, but I think for the ones that we do, we provide a high level value to the city. So we're looking at all different avenues, but this is one of them.
Very good. Questions or comments? Alderperson Gantz.
So it's paid out after the referred employee's first day of work. Is that standard? Because I know other companies that don't pay out until the employees actually work there a few months to make sure they show up and work.
Sure.
So is that normal?
Well, we looked at different policies from other entities, and there was some that had similar language in there that they had to pass probation, but we decided to take that out. I mean, some do, the person will get the money even just referring somebody, but I mean, you could refer anybody who's not even qualified and say, hey, let's split the profits. You could refer 10 people, and then we're paying out 10 different times. So we felt like they at least had to get hired. It's really up to us to decide whether or not they're a good applicant, by checking references and whatnot. And we didn't feel that is kind of the ownership's on the employee to make sure that they're going to be a good fit. So we just wanted to guarantee them if they refer somebody and we end up hiring them, they'll end up receiving the reward. So, but again, we can certainly change the policy however you see fit. This was our recommendation.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? And if you want changes, go ahead and throw it out there when you make a motion. Everyone all good with the referral program?
Yep.
Well, I'd make a motion to approve the employee referral program.
I'll second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson P-Rock. Any additional discussion? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 16, recommendation and possible action to purchase the Onboard module through NEOGOV, the city's recruiting platform. You want to take that too?
Sure. It is my memo, so I suppose I could take it. Yeah, this is something that's been on our to-do list for probably 4 or 5 years. I'm really excited we're able to bring this forward. Right now we work with NEOGOV, which is our online recruitment software, and essentially this is another module that's part of the same company. Really, it'll help immensely streamline our online or our hiring process or onboard process with applicants. Right now, from an applicant standpoint, what we used to do when I started, employees would get this stack of paper like this. We've since then, started emailing all the various documents. When you start, you get a lot of information, right? But certainly from an applicant standpoint, it can be very overwhelming. There's a lot of attachments and emails and whatnot. So it basically will give them access to software. They can go in, they can watch any videos that they need to watch ahead of being employed, like a harassment video and whatnot. It'll give them all the forms electronically that they can fill out. Right now, they're likely printing them at home using their own ink, which I know is kind of a pain for applicants. So it's just streamlining our whole process. We then internally can keep track of what forms they've turned in, what forms they haven't. They can submit everything electronically to us. So it's just making us, certainly come up to speed on where we need to be from an onboarding standpoint with applicants.
Yeah, my daughter just got hired in Green Bay as a teacher, and I was pretty impressed with their onboarding. Everything was all done electronically. everything from health insurance to videos to watch to everything. So much more convenient. Way to go, Green Bay. You knew that, right? Yeah.
No, I'm old enough that I signed paper.
You did the sign paper thing, yeah. So this might be something relatively
Yeah.
new. Other questions or comments? I think this is very beneficial.
If
Alderperson Conacher?
if this is already in the budget, why? Because as I'm reading it, it says the cost was budgeted in the budget. So
And bringing forward essentially the contract and the,
Okay.
yeah, the ability to do
So
so.
this is
But
the
yes, I
contract.
did already budget.
Yep.
okay.
Other questions or comments and/or motion?
I'll move to approve.
A second.
Motion by Alderperson Conacher, seconded by Alderperson Gaines to approve the onboard module NEOGOV. Any additional discussion and/or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 17, recommendation and possible action on emergency funding for Legion Pool repairs. I'll make a motion to approve, and then we can take questions from there. Motion by me, second by Alderperson Conacher. Any questions or discussion regarding, and I believe right here it's $14,002
Yep,
is the total for the repair.
true.
Alderperson Conacher, I knew you were.
I just, the use of emergency, to me, this reads more like it's a continuation of fixing the problem that was in the beginning. It's just, we're just fully fixing it. So, I don't know,
You don't like the word,
I have
you don't like the word
trouble with the word-
emergency.
yes.
Because there's no immediate need for it right now.
No, it's just making it right for next season. So,
We can change it, Legion Pool repairs. Larry, go ahead.
just a clarification I want.
All right. Yep, we actually did these already. So this is a retroactive request because I had to grant emergency
Mhm.
authority for them to be able to spend the money, go cut the
Yep.
holes, do all the things. So we just technically have to bring it back to have it approved.
So that's why you're calling it emergency?
It was an emergency repair at the time.
Okay, I remember. Good job.
Other questions or comments? Did we get a motion?
Yeah, we did.
We did? Okay. Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 18, recommendation and possible action for a proposed amendment to the sale and purchase agreement with FBS Investment Group LLC.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Quigley, seconded by Alderperson P-Rock. It's been a lot of numbers. Any additional discussion or comments regarding this item on the agenda? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 19, recommendation and possible action for proposed sale and purchase agreement with One Source Technology, Benz Resources LLC for 2051 Profit Place, parcel ED 2382. Dan, do you want to shed some insight on this?
Yes, I can. Sorry I can't be there in person. I'm in training down in Pewaukee, but I will kind of go through an overview, but I believe Todd Benz is in the audience, or he stated that he would. I can't see the audience, so if he's there, he may be able to answer some questions. All right. Well, I'll kind of go through it here quickly. One Source Technologies is a company currently located in the region. They kind of focus on the low voltage installations of various different audiovisual equipment and a variety of other security things. He can kind of go into that one in greater detail. But they've grown out, or they've grown to their capacity at their current location, and as such, they're looking for a new location. They identified and worked with myself several months ago to try to find them a site, and they approached the city with the site that you see in your packet, which is located on Profit Place. For those that need a little bit of kind of a subject overview, that's northeast of Hawker's Plumbing site, and it's kind of on that section of our East Business Park that's ripe for growth here as we get further and further along with the Southern Bridge discussions. It also is north of the new Belmart facility that is currently being constructed. So what's being proposed here is approximately.
Dan, 1 second. You want to pull the memo? Yeah, you want to pull that up. They're just going to pull up the pictures.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All right. what's being proposed here is the use of the 1.2 acre site for about an 11,000 square foot office warehouse facility. It will also act as kind of their home base for their vehicles and equipment. So you see in the packet that there was several select pages of the site plan as well as an illustrated rendering. So the applicant did also provide in the packet a description of the overall sources and uses of funds, as well as the result of COVID and construction cost increases and interest rate increases, showing what the gap is in order to and what the request is in order to make the project work. They had requested about $200,000 worth of assistance. Due to our practice and our management of our business park, we weren't able to support that amount. However, we were able to support we are able, I guess you would say, or the TID can support a proposed amount that is slightly less than what they had requested. And so in the packet, you see that there are several recommended terms if the finance and personnel and the council elect to move forward. And so with that one, the terms would be the 11,000 square foot warehouse facility on the subject property, construct the property in accordance with our building code as required by the Plan Commission. So in other words, getting site plan approval, a guaranteed minimum value or revenue value, I guess you would say. We are kind of shifting a little bit away from the guaranteed assessed value and more towards the guaranteed revenue value of about $15,000. And the reason for that is we are borrowing for that, so we need to make sure that we do have the appropriate revenue sources to pay off what would be a cash grant borrowing. The reason why that's important is, as we've seen with fluctuations in mill rates over the past 5 years, we need that guaranteed revenue source. So we are putting the TID in the best available spot to be successful. Also, compliance with the design standards and landscaping with other things that Plan Commission may not be looking at. They would be required to acquire the parcel is a listed value of about $45,000, or what we're proposing, or what the proposed value would be on that one. And then the final sale and purchase would be reviewed by the council with full project completion by January 1 of 2024. And then the city's I guess you would say, terms and positions on that one would be a land rebate equal to the value of the property, and then also a developer grant of about $110,000 to be paid to the developer to defray those costs, and then at the completion of the project as determined by the Director of Development Services, Zoning Administrator, and Senior Building Inspector. There is a little caveat to that one, that in no case shall it be issued before the city completes its borrowing on an annual basis. So there is some flexibility in when that can happen, but it's just more or less that we can't grant the funds until we actually are able to borrow it. So that's kind of an important piece on that one. But really, that's the overall summary of the proposed term. Staff is in support of it and is available for any questions.
Any questions or comments? And we do have Todd back here as well if you have any questions you want to ask him directly. So any questions regarding the terms, the agreement? And again, you see the timeline, so it still has a ways to go to move its way forward, but at least this is a first start, which I think is an encouraging start. It's great anytime a business wants to locate. It's very active right now over there. So everyone's aware where that is in the East Industrial Park? Okay, good. I'm not sensing any questions here for you right now at this time, Todd, so that's good news. So it appears they're comfortable, at least at this first shot, with the agreement, and then you understand how it flows. You're obviously talking to Dan. Okay. That said, I am comfortable with it as well, so I'd make a motion to approve the sale and purchase agreement with OneSource Technology, subject to the terms listed in the contract.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Cuniger. Seeing there are no other questions, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Step one, Todd.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for thinking of us and locating into Pere. Item 20, review and possible action on City of De Pere investments and cash detail report for June and July of 2022. Joe.
All right, I'll briefly go through and summarize the 2 months since we did not meet last month. First of all, for June 30th, we had a total of $31.9 million of cash and investments. As you can see, $4.3 million roughly was in cash between the city's general checking, health, and dental, and $27.6 million in investments between $10 million for the LGIP account, about roughly $5 million for Associated Bank, 6.2 for Schwab, and about 6.2 for the money market. Our interest and depreciation in this through the month, 6 months ending June 30th, were about $307,000. That picked up in July. So for July, our total was $35.6 million of investments. The total cash was $2.8 million. You can see $822,000 for city checking, $1.9 million for health, $80,000 for dental, and about $32.8 million in our investments, $15 million for LGIP, roughly $5 million for Associated, roughly $6 million for Schwab, and then money market was $6 million at the end of the July 31st. And we picked up roughly $56,000 of appreciation and interest in that month to get our cumulative to about $251 deficit through the first 7 months. And then just a couple highlights as to what was flowing through the LGIP account. We had about $6.4 million coming in July, and about 6 items for that. $1.3 million in ARPA funds, about $380,000 in state and computer cable aids, $367,000 in transportation aids, fire dues payment $100,000, shared revenues $428,000. Then we also received state property tax credits from the state of Wisconsin, about $3.8 million, but that gets turned right back to the state, and it has been already in August as part of our tax settlement process. So we picked up 3.8, and we had to give it, turn it on over to the county in August for 3.8. That's my summary.
Great. Good job with the interest. By the way, fire personnel and Todd, you guys don't have to stay if you don't want to, so we don't mean to punish you by staying here, so thank you. But you all can stay, trust me.
Pretty riveting though, man.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah. Questions for Joe on the investment reports? I'd make a motion to place the investment and cash detail reports on file for June and July.
I'll second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Henniger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 21, discussion on panhandling. This actually was brought forward by Alderperson Rash, who is not here, but we'll still have the discussion anyways. So, Kristen, you want to go ahead and give us a little bit update here, and where are we and what we can and can't do?
Yeah, so I drafted a brief memo, which I think may have shown up as confidential on the packet, but I assume you guys could all see it. Alderperson Rash requested this be brought forward to Finance and Personnel, just to talk about the ongoing concerns throughout the city. I did provide a memo from 2019 that was provided by our office, that we did repeal our aggressive panhandling ordinance due to some cases that came out that said that basically it's protected free speech. So we repealed the ordinance, much like a lot of other Wisconsin municipalities and municipalities throughout the country. And really what the aggressive panhandling ordinance did was prohibit, obviously, aggressive panhandling. So we deal with that in a variety of other ways. If it rises to the level of disorderly conduct, somebody can be cited for that. If they're obstructing traffic, they can obviously be cited for that. So there's other ways to kind of prohibit the behavior that is problematic. Simply asking for money is protected free speech. So that's something we can't prohibit outright. One thing I did include also was a sample ordinance from Madison that some communities have been doing to prohibit people from walking through the street, maintaining on the median of the street for a purpose other than basically crossing the street. Those communities are doing that directly as a cause of accidents that have happened throughout their community where people have been hit, severely injured. So then they tried to prohibit the behavior as a safety concern. In my talks with the police department, that hasn't been a problem so much for De Pere. I think all of you are probably aware where the panhandlers were located recently. And So I did reach out to the police department today to ask if there was much of an update. The chief had indicated he doesn't believe additional ordinances are necessary. As I said earlier, that if they're obstructing traffic or causing a disorderly behavior, those can be handled differently. Also, if they're on private property, the private property owner can issue no trespasses to those people. So they can prohibit those people from being on their property as a private property owner. So at least from the police chief, he didn't have much concern that we should add anything additional. And then Captain Merstick also kind of followed up that he hasn't gotten many complaints since looks like middle of August. So he's also not aware of any newer ongoing issues. So that's kind of the update that I have. I'm happy to research other ordinances if you want to direct me back to do so, draft something as appropriate. But at this time, I think at least from what I can tell, we are able to address the problem.
Very good. So people are aware at home if they're watching this or whatever. We had an issue, maybe about a month total, 4 or 5 weeks on, on the west side in the festival area. And then in Aurora, there were a couple folks over there, but not many at all. They've been gone since, but sporadically have come back.
They were there today.
Alderperson P-Rock, you said you saw them today?
Yep, with 3 kids. I don't know how that factors into it. You can have your kids sitting out there.
Unless the private property owner, prohibits them from being there.
No, I think one of the private businesses festival did trespassing. Didn't they order that?
I'm not sure. And there's Jeremy. If he might know a little bit more about
Chief,
what
did the festival do something?
Yes, they did ask that we issue no trespass orders to a certain group of individuals that were on their property. That basically resulted in a temporary displacement. They went back into the public right-of-ways and things like that. But to just, I guess, reaffirm what Kristen just said, I believe that the ordinances and the statutes that we have at our disposal allow us to deal with the activity that is illegal. If they're, in a publicly open area and they're engaging in mere panhandling without being aggressive or creating a disturbance, there's really nothing that we can do to address that. But all of the other avenues where it would venture into that realm of being illegal, I think we do have the appropriate ways to enforce that.
Very good, thank you. Other questions or comments? Alderperson Gantz?
So the ones that we have encountered are not aggressive and have not been violent, is that correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Chief, not that you're aware of?
Yeah, that is correct. We haven't had any complaints where they were being overly aggressive or harassing or anything like that.
So what happens? So what happens if, say, one of those kids get hit by a car when they're out there with their father or whoever they were with? Where does that factor in?
Well, that would be where maybe an ordinance like Madison would be appropriate if they are entering on the streets, if they're remaining in the medians to kind of ask for money as cars pull up. And that's, like I said, that's where some of the other municipalities have then said, let's try to draft an ordinance. It has to be very, tailored to address the safety concern, not the free speech concern. So it has to be prohibiting anybody for any reason for, being in the street, staying in the median for a purpose other than crossing the street, that kind of thing. So I think Madison and Wauwatosa, I believe, both have those. But, there's still the concern about free speech protections and things like that. So it's really just a lot of them are pushing education, stay out of the streets, that kind of stuff. But if they're on public or private property and they get hit by a car, say in the festival parking lot, it's just like any other accident, unfortunately.
I mean, really, at the end of the day, they're allowed to do what they do. We can't stop that. So that's the information that we have. So if we want as a body and then move it forward to council or direct Kristen to put together an ordinance, we can do that as well too. So it's really up to whatever you all want to do. Now, being that there's just one and then a family of maybe 3 there today, and it's very sporadic right now, I'm not sure we want to put a whole lot of energy in something that just isn't that big right now. That's going to always be there anyways. Larry?
And just to add a comment, and Chief, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe our officers through the police department have also made contact with individuals that have been panhandling just to check on their, I guess, well-being, and also to make them aware of services that may be available if they need them in the area. And so we have taken those steps, and to my knowledge, in all the cases that have been here. And
Yes,
typically-
that is correct. We've actually had officers and our department social worker reach out to them, offer to help them with services, offer to help them with emergency housing and things like that. And basically the response that we've gotten is that they're not interested in any of that. They say that they're fine. They're happy with how things are going for them, and they basically have turned down any offers of assistance that we have given them.
Can we address one more thing publicly as well? There's been instances where they parked or stayed supposedly in the state-owned property. What's the situation with that? The park and ride. Jeremy, you want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been in contact with the State Department of Transportation, which obviously owns and maintains that property. And they have a strict no camping policy, and that would include people that are living out of their vehicle. So when we have encountered that, we've advised people of that, advised them that they could be cited for trespassing if they do not leave that area. And we haven't seen too many repeat people trying to live out of their vehicle in those areas as a result.
So really, at the same, we've been reacting to this at least during the 4 weeks and then the sporadic times that we have it. So we're aware of it. If residents see it go on or anyone else, you can connect with the police, and then they will take care of it there. But again, these people are protected by free speech, and it's a real balancing act here. So, Alderperson Gantz.
Doesn't Walmart allow people to park in their lot and stay in their car? And that's not that
I'm
far.
not sure if they do that overtly. Is that yes or no, Jeremy?
As of right now, it is my understanding that certain Walmart locations do allow that, typically for RVs, campers, and things like that. I do not know what their stance would be if somebody was living out of a sedan or a typical motor vehicle. But I do know that Walmarts typically do allow people in camping vehicles to stay overnight at least one night.
I know I participated in the count when they went out and counted how many people were living on the street. And Walmart was a big one where people did park and stay, and nobody seemed to bother them. I don't know if that's an option we want to mention. I think with Walmart, you do have to register, but I don't know. If they are allowing it, it might be an option for them rather than just, you can't park here. See you later.
I think generally if they'll figure that out. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if we want to be advertising publicly, but.
Yeah, I get it.
So what's the wish? Do we want to just, I mean, we can always bring this back if we see something spike, if something changes, but the fact that PD's aware, city's aware of the situation and monitoring it, they have their legal rights, but as of now, it seems like it's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a problem.
I just don't want, a law department to go through a lot of unnecessary steps to research for ordinances and for something that right now seems to be taken care of with what we have. Now, if I'm off and someone wants to go in a different direction, please tell me, and like I said, we can always revisit it. Okay, all good? All right, thank you. That brings us to item 22, future agenda items. Does anyone have a future agenda item? It appears not. Item 23, discussion and possible action on personnel matter. This meeting, we're going to go to closed session. This meeting will be locked for closed session. Unauthorized attendees will be disconnected from the meeting during the closed session or be asked to leave. If you want to rejoin the meeting after the closed session, please wait 5 minutes and use the same meeting connection information to reconnect to the meeting, or we'll let you back in. You'll be placed in the meeting lobby, either there or out there, until the meeting resumes from the closed session. If you're not part of the closed session, please disconnect from the meeting at this time. So we're going to ask anyone that's not part of this future closed session to please disconnect. I will then make a motion to go into closed session, and I'll need a second.
I'll second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Quigley to go into closed session. We'll need a roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Surek?
Aye.
Yes?
Aye.
Condinger? Aye. Quigley?
Aye.
Mayor Boyce?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to go into closed session. Jamie, did you catch all that?
I just have,
eager to see who was sticking around from management until that.
I am now back in.
So I'm sure they put two and two together once they saw him, he was still here.
Yeah.
All right, we're back in. I will then move on to item 24, and I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Conacher. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're officially adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.